Uh-huh.
And let's see. Okay, so we have Cat Church with Jeff as the host. I'm going to make Jeff host. And how you share photos is, do you see at the, are you on a computer or a phone?
I'm on a computer.
Okay, at the bottom, on your computer, if you have the photos open like in a window,
Uh-huh.
do you? And then if you go, and then after, so they have to be opened when
Uh-huh.
and then when you go down to the bottom where it says share screen, it should be like a
Uh-huh.
green
Oh,
button.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Click that, and you're on.
All
Thank you,
right.
everybody, for being here, by the way.
Thank you for starting it all up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep an eye out, making sure, seeing if anyone else needs to join or
Oh, there
whatever.
it
But
goes.
okay, Jeff.
All right. Well, thank you, Anna, for inviting me to share my cat stories with everyone. Um, so it's a little bit you know, I have like all these kind of like little stories, and it was just kind of a question of how I wanted to present them. So and then uh what came out of like the overall story. And well, I think what I've learned on reflecting on all of my cat relationships is it's a little bit up and down, and a lot of it has to do with death, actually, and being responsible for the environment. And cats actually challenged me to challenge the system that I was in. So uh, I spent about 5 years as a monk. And in that time, I was the resident cat herder, is what I entitled myself with. And so I was in charge of maintaining the cats and the cats' well-being while I was in the temple system. So, um, prior to entering the system, I had one cat as a kid, and her name was Miss Kitty Cat. And uh, growing up, I came from what you would consider a broken family, what I would consider like a broken home, I guess. And so um, I myself was like experiencing food insecurity. And so I couldn't consistently feed my cat, even though I had a cat. My first cat was named Miss Kitty Cat. And if you don't think that that's like a generic enough name, I actually took that name from a movie called Fievel Goes West. And Miss Kitty Cat is actually the antagonist to the movie, where she's trying to eat Fievel the entire time, and Fievel and his friends keep ducking this cat. So Miss Kitty Cat is actually the name of an antagonist, but I loved Miss Kitty Cat. And so I couldn't really feed her consistently, but she was always healthy because she never stopped hunting. And so I reflect on Miss Kitty Cat because of how healthy she was, in spite of like my own instability. And like I could like feed her in the morning a little bit, sometimes if I had like extra ham or things. I'd just like feed her whatever scraps I could, but then she'd go and hunt and supplement whatever I was able to feed her. So she was kind of like she was very much her own cat. Uh, she would go out and hunt, I think, mice in the alleyways and stuff, as well as birds. I saw her hunt birds on a number of occasions. Uh, so yeah, I think I didn't have another cat relationship for over 10 years after that, but um, I was kind of sad that I wasn't able to better support Miss Kitty Cat. but she lived, she actually, I had to let her go, and we didn't know what to do with her. And I told my dad there was this abandoned industrial like a grain facility. So I knew that there were mice there and a lot of birds. And so I had him take her out there and release her into this area where I knew she could hide from coyotes. And I knew that there were a lot of was a lot of food around for her because I knew the mice and other rodents would be hiding there. So that's where she retired to when I had when I left, and I could know like I couldn't provide her anything, and my dad had no relationship with my cat. So and she was an outside cat, strictly outside cat. So but yeah, I was kind of like I was sad about that, and I didn't like that. But I just had I had nothing to like offer her, and I couldn't take her with me. So um I never had any intention of having another cat, and technically I never considered the cats under my care like my cats, or you know, like it was never they were never my property. They were like their own autonomous beings, and they lived with us. So they were like roommates that that had very particular attitudes and demeanors. And so let's see, so when I started my monastic stay, I was in Los Angeles, and there were two cats there. There's a tomcat and a lady cat, and we considered them married. They were a couple, and they were also feral. And they came in because the rodents were actually there in that what I call a well, it was a house temple essentially. And I had told the abbot there that so there's the two cats' names. So the lady cat's name is Jowow, and that's like the Thai way of saying meow. So it's like Jow, Jow, or Jowow, Jowow, something like that. And then the tomcat was named like Young D. I forgot what it's a reference to. But I never touched those cats. They would not allow me closer than like it took them a long time for them to even allow me like to be 3 feet away from them. So it was it's kind of a laissez-faire interaction with them, and I figured that they were hunting the mice because the temple did have mice, which was a issue in of itself because at that time Los Angeles was having like a bubonic plague outbreak of mice. So like I'm worried about that. Like there were times where I was laying on the temple floor and like I'd wake up and they'd be touching my head, the back, like like freaking me out. So I wish those cats were indoor cats often because yeah, we had a problem, a kind of environmental problem at that temple. And so I went about cleaning the inside of the temple as best I could. Because there was food, all like just kind of like little things, and the abbot there was kind of old, and he was also disabled, I think, a little bit. And he was in chronic pain. And the monks, like the traditional style for monks to address any kind of physical discomfort is really just to bear it without complaint. And I I would rub the abbot's neck and back, and I could feel how bad, like how misaligned he was, and just these huge knots. And I could, and he was known as kind of a cantankerous, stubborn old, like not so stubborn, but just cantankerous, because he had this attitude. But like that's kind of how he expressed his pain, is that he had a bit of a short temper. And like I would tell him like, oh, maybe we should go to the doctor or something. He'd be like, you're the doctor, go ahead and like rub my back. But let me see, do I have a picture? So the abbot's name was Adderek. Yeah, I do have a picture. Let me open this. And share my screen. All right, there it goes. So the guy right here in the middle, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but he's right in the middle. He's looking off to the left here. He's a little bit shorter next to the fatter guy. This guy, the big guy right in the middle next to him is the abbot of this temple that we're in, that I took this picture in. But that's Adderek. Adderek is also a Pali teacher, which is like you have to have like a high level of achievement essentially to be able to teach Pali. So Pali is the ancient scholar language. It's a bit of an amalgamated language, and it's designed to allow different regions of Buddhist scholars to talk to each other. So it's a bit of a simplification of a Prakrit language, but when these guys achieve a certain level, they earn a small stipend from the Thai king when they do it, because they're considered like a living library at that point. And so it's what would we call it in the West? We have a name for, like a living treasure or something like that. I forgot what that term is. It might be living treasure, but it's something along those lines. But anyway, let's go back here. So I close that. So oh yeah, about the mice. So I was usually annoyed by the mice, but we also had the roaches, right? Because this place was just like not clean, right? So, but like a couple of nights I heard the mice munching on roaches. So I was like, oh, I guess they're not all bad. So, so they were kind of like helping every now and then. But definitely like I was worried about like, oh, if somebody like, don't let any of our lay people like get botulism or some crazy disease out of this place. So like, yeah, I did everything I could to clean it up. But I started to think about the relationship that the temple system and the Sangha had with the outside or inside animals, and what the tradition was of how they viewed those animals. And so when I was able to talk with monks about it, they would say that, well, the temple system is actually open to all beings, and so that includes living and dead. So it's open to spirits, it's open to animals. There's no killing in the temple system. So it's an open system, even though like, yeah, I can definitely, well, so first off, I started by cleaning, right? Okay, I'm not going to kill anything by cleaning to eliminate the attractors into the temple. So that's where I started to address the environment. And then I started to look at the outside of the temple and what we were doing. And we were we were actually across the street from a middle school, I think, and we're in a residential area. And so I'm looking at the front and the back of the temple, and we're growing vegetables, and in the back we're growing fruit, like bananas, things like that. So semi-tropical fruit. And that was to me recognized as a significant attractor of rodents and other things like that. And so thinking about like how our food situation was impacting the larger area, I started to actually become critical of some of the attitudes that were kind of like the laissez-faire attitudes that we were just kind of settled in, because I could see that one, we were a vector for potential disease, and actually, a kind of safe harbor in a way for disease that we could be impacting our larger community with. And so I want to challenge that system, and to try and challenge members to reconsider certain aspects of that. And so, I mean, I was doing what I could. What ended up happening is that that space became an attractor. Those fruit bodies actually attracted. So first they attracted the rodents, or like the roaches, and then the rodents, and then those rodents attracted the cats. That's actually how our cats came to the temple. But also they were feral and didn't have any relationship, especially with the lay people. Like they could tell the guys in orange were like chill, but like the lay people might shoo them off. But yeah, eventually those fruit bodies attracted a pregnant possum that lived on the roof, and she gave birth and lived up there for a while. And I think Jowo thought her babies were just another rat or mouse, and she attempted to kill one of the babies, and the possum mom attacked her and like made a nasty tear in her like abdomen. And like I tried everything I could to approach her and get a hold of her. And Ajahn Ederek, like he told me he said, save Jowo. And oh, I just I felt so powerless, because mm, well, it was like a culmination of everything at the time. Oh, but I couldn't save Jowo. So and I have a picture of Jowo somewhere, but I couldn't find it for you. But it was so that happened when I wasn't there. I was in the Death Valley at the time, and I had come back for a weekend, and he told me to save Jowo, and I couldn't. And yeah, I couldn't even get a hold of her. I tried to get a hold of her, but I couldn't do anything. I couldn't address her wound, and she died when I wasn't there, but I knew she was going to die, you know. So yeah, but so many things all at the same time. Like just made me feel so powerless, you know, to the situation. So, so yeah, uh, it made it made me like really angry, uh, to to my own to my own powerlessness of the situation. So, the death of Zhao Wao, I don't know, I don't know why it impacted me so much, but I think it was because just everything in the environment was making me feel powerless. So it challenged me, it made me angry, and so there's like a fire within me to to take on the system. So sorry, I'm trying to talk and and cry at the same time. Uh, so um uh I went to so yeah, I was at the temple in LA when COVID happened, and I decided I didn't want to be in Los Angeles when COVID happened. And so I went to Death Valley. I found another temple to stay with, and I ended up staying about 2 years there. But while I was there, I was with a different abbot. It's actually let me show you. I do have pictures of the abbots that I was with. So this is a very young abbot, and he's young because he's actually a genius. He's one of the youngest expert level Pali scholars in the world. So that's Ajahn Lodej. So he was the abbot, very, very intelligent person. But he also had a different relationship with his cat. And so the cat that he had was named Wandi, and Wandi was an inside cat and very much a person cat. So the relationship there was different. And I was also very mindful of the way that we were having, we were relating to the beings around the temple. And I was also willing to challenge some of the norms as well. And part of that was, yeah, because of Zhao Wao. And so let's see, let's bring up 1D real quick here. Let's see, 1D. Sorry, I'm not like a Zoom guy. All right, here we go. Here's 1D. And then that's our little memorial temple back there for the dead, for the spirits, so especially for the spirits to come in and out of. So 1D, the first week I was there, he got attacked by, he was in heat, like it was that time of year, and there were other tomcats in heat as well, and he's at this point he's like 2 years old, and so he's a very young tom. And there's another cat that comes in, and I actually saw the other cat, but I didn't know what was going on at the time. And so I kind of just like turned around and I saw this like stranger cat actually bite 1D in the tail, and like he took off, like he like ambushed him and bit him in the tail and then took off, and then like 1D's tail got infected. We had to take him to the vet and get him an antibiotic, but I'm not sure if his like if it hurt, it actually permanently did a little bit of damage to 1D's tail, because he never really stuck it straight back ever again. He was always holding it up. So I was kind of like mad that I didn't do anything, like that I didn't take a side, or it's just like, no, I should have been like more aware that what was going on. And so I also took like a preferential a preferential stance on 1D as well. So 1D and I were like a crew, and so nobody was going to mess with 1D ever again. So 1D and I were buddies, and 1D, so let me get you another one here. Sorry, I'm so slow. This is 1D meditating with us. So let's just push play again here. Put it on repeat here. That's his morning routine. And he'll just meditate with us across the way there. And so like when your cats like to watch you on your laptop, this cat will meditate with us in the same way. So what was I saying? Yeah, so he and I spent so much time together, and I took my time warming up to 1D. I let him kind of take his time warming up to me, and also I have a bad back and I wasn't really able to pet him, and we were barefoot in the temple all the time, so I actually ended up petting him with my feet, especially at lunchtime. So he'd come around the table, and then I'd just like this, like you can't really see it, but I'd just be petting his back, like, and be sitting just like this. And so that's kind of like how we started our relationship. And I'm also mildly allergic to pet dander, which is also an issue. So what I ended up doing is every morning I would take him to the front and comb his hair out to get all his daily shed out. And that's how we really bonded together, is through grooming. And so 1D and I have had a very close relationship due to our daily routine. And show you another picture here. And you can see 1D, this is a box. This is where he'd spend the midday when it was hottest, and that's a marble floor there. You can't really tell, but it was too cold for him, and I thought, oh, okay. I know cats like boxes, and this is really close, but not too cold for him. And he loved this box. And then every time we walked by, we would pet him. And Lodej liked to see him, so he could see him every time he'd go back and forth into his study. Because Lodej is also a language teacher, especially Pali. But yeah, he'd be there in the middle of the day. And you can see he's kind of white, and the reason he's white is because I would treat him with diatomaceous earth, food grade, and I also got it in his water to make sure he didn't get worms, to fortify him. And he would get little, like, because he would go after like groundhogs and stuff, or ground squirrels, and he'd have little mites all over him. And so I'd rub a little diatomaceous earth, and within 20 minutes they were all off of him. And then he also loved the powder because it's like a dirt bath, but it's like, you know, the best dirt bath you can get. And that made him really white like that because he's got a little bit of diatomaceous earth kind of still caught under his fur there. And actually, one of the lay people, kind of like a little bit racist lady, she was like, "What are you doing to the cat?" And I actually just took her out and showed her our morning routine, and then she's like, "Oh, okay, you're actually like taking really good care of the cat." So she was happy. But you see his little his pose. This is the same position we would take during lunch. I'd put him between my legs, and I do like a little cat exercise with him. So I'd put one leg on his back, and then I'd push his feet with my other, just kind of like I am now, and I'd give him what I call little cat push-ups in the day. So that was one of the things that we would do. Let's find some more here. Just open all of these at once here. Okay. Share some more here. Yeah, here's the outside. This is in 29 Palms near Joshua Tree, this temple. But here he is. So you can see how much more orange he is normally. That was before I was treating him with diatomaceous earth. This is these are our, so this little red box here, this red shed, that's where I lived for 2 years. So no AC, nothing. So get over 110 degrees Fahrenheit easy during the summer. So 3 months out of the year, yeah, you couldn't be in there in the middle of the day, or if anything, you'd have to have the door open and it was pretty incredible, like how much I could tolerate at the end of that. But yeah, one sad thing about Juan Diaz, he had a brother and a mom, and they were both eaten by coyotes. And so he had a deathly fear of coyotes. There was one time I saved his life where I saw him getting chased by a coyote, and I actually came running, chasing him. And actually one time the coyote came, like we had the garage open to let 1D in, and the abbot opened it too much, and the coyote actually came into the temple. And you know, earlier, like I said, like it's supposed to be open to everyone and all. I was like, nope, it's not. And so I was like, get out of here. And so I shooed that coyote right up. I had no qualms about it whatsoever. I was going to protect 1D. And we were buddies. So, yeah, I had no hesitation to challenge the system at that point. Oh golly, forgot the other picture. Just one more. This is one of his favorite poses, is grabbing his back legs and pulling them over his head, kind of like that. And that's how he liked to sleep. And then he knew he was going to get pets, so he just hung out there in the middle of the day. He's a prolific cat napper, but very active at night. And sometimes the abbot would worry about him. So there was one thing I did that I kind of feel a little bit guilty about, and that is I took my Bluetooth speaker and I went and got coyote sounds, and I just like went to the outside of the temple, and I just walked around with this Bluetooth speaker going woo, 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 and chased him back into the temple to get him to come back into the temple. It's because the abbot was worried about him. So I kind of feel a little bit guilty about that, because I think it was a bit of cat terrorism on my end that I was committing. So so I do apologize about that one. There was another incident. We have a cameo here. This is the snake that came to the temple. And that's the snake, and we didn't know if it was poisonous or not. And so I actually just walked up with a short shovel, and I took the dull end of the shovel, like the handle, and that, you know how some of them have like a U, right, for the thing. So I just turned that around and pinned him, and then I actually picked him up, not knowing if it's poisonous or not, and still committed to like, you know, the Buddhist morality. There is a picture of me with this snake. Someone has it, of me sitting in front of the temple Buddha with the snake, and like we gave it the blessing for coming, and we never saw another snake after that blessing ever again come to the temple. But we took him down to the that's the kind of the wash, like where any kind of rainwater would go, and so we let him go there. But the reason he's in a dumpster there, so I put him in a box, we put him in the car, like I sealed the box, and like he's like, oh, let me go get my camera. So he goes and gets his camera, right? And by the time we get back to the car, the snake has figured out how to get out of the box. And not only that, it's like tangled around the gas pedal and going into the center console. And I'm like pulling the tail end of this snake that I don't know if it's poisonous or not. And I'm like pulling it like this, trying not to hurt it, and like trying not to like figure out if it's gonna bite me or not. So like I like, and I just ended up putting it in the empty garbage thing, and I just ended up rolling it down like a, you know, like a kilometer down the road down the road. So that's that story. That's that cameo of that. So yeah, so the cats, what they shared with me was a story of life and death, and just to be very considerate, you know, be mindful of life and death, like, you know, the Genjo koan, right? The great koan. And of course the monks were also very generous with that teaching as well. And you know, the robes that we wear traditionally in the ancient times, though, the reason that they're saffron color is because those, and little squares, is because those pieces of cloth actually came from the dead. So there were these places called charnel grounds, and when a novice monk was made a novice, they would tell them to go meditate in the charnel grounds, to face death, to have no romantic notions about it, and to understand it for what it is. And so the monks one of the first things that they would do is collect enough of these pieces of cloth that would, you know, fall off or, you know, blow off in the wind. And once they had collected enough, they'd sew the robe, and that's how you'd get these robes that we would wear. And in a certain way, it's like saying that I'm ready for death anytime, right? I have this, I can go like this, I'm ready to die. So that's one of the lessons of the Tathagata itself. So this picture here, what we're looking at, is called a living funeral. And the person that proposed it is the man in the middle there. And he has stage 4 cancer. And he decided to have a living funeral to face the great reality of death. And so here we have this is him. Of course he's passed away now. It's a few years ago. But that little box there with the orange is actually his coffin. And here he is bowing to the coffin, or bowing to life and death. And of course I couldn't really understand any of what was being said at the time. Sorry, I'm switching from photos that it didn't include. But it was a very poignant time. Kind of surreal. I was there all day, like from the day before. Like we came like late in the day. We slept it for like 5 hours. I wake up and I just like start sweeping, and like I went and like he couldn't speak English, and so I just like went and kind of sat with him for a while. This is the where the Sangha blessed him, which is kind of weird that like he would wear a mask, like why would he care if he got COVID? That one's kind of funny, but I used to carry this rubber snake in my bag there, and I would like kind of it was kind of a rigid thing, so I could like move my finger with this snake, and I'd had it for kids, right? So I'd be like, because the kids, like, some people would carry stuff in their bags for kids, and um so I carried this rubber snake that I would pull out and pretend that it was real, and then I'd like ooh, like that. Anyway, so I went to this and I wrapped it. I actually with the white string, I also wrapped that rubber snake around his arm and gave it to him. So I don't know if you can see it there, but that little bump on his wrist is that rubber snake that I tie on to his wrist there, as kind of a joke blessing. But like the mood there was not like one that is typical for a funeral. The mood there is like it was intimate. Yeah, it was like vulnerable. And you know, I think everyone was very reflective on Genjo Koan, on living and dying. Um but the mood there was very good, like very positive. And it was like happy to be alive. That was the mood. Like very grateful for what uh we have together. Anyway, this layperson down here, this lady, they like to get in the pictures with uh especially with like a white guy, because like I'm like, when I show up, it's international now, right? So there's a tradition where in Southeast Asia in general, where if you have a big event, what you want is an outside third body to witness it, to verify that, oh yes, this took place. So in that same tradition, when I showed up, and as a Mahayana monk in a Theravada temple system, when I showed up, like I made everything international and Mahasangha. So like that's kind of like the attitude that's a lot of the lay people took with me, and the monks as well. It's kind of like, oh, he's here, come on over here. So uh I was quite popular in that system. Let's see, just a few. Oh yeah, forgot my Roadrunner. Oh, and I have a rabbit too, so show you some of the things here. This is it's a wild hare, and those are blueberries that Widow fed the hare. This is our Roadrunner. He'd come in the morning, and I think originally what happened is, Roadrunners are scavengers. So I think what happened is people would offer the food, and then maybe some rice or something would fall off to the side, and then he would come and eat it. And so that was kind of his morning routine, is like, where's the offering? So he'd be looking for scraps from the offering. And then of course, like, he was there enough that we would feed him. And so he got used to us. Like, he didn't have a fear of us. Like, I knew I could feed him from my hand, but I never wanted to do it. I never did. I never wanted to train him to eat from a human's hand. But this guy, like, he was so comfortable with us. And I love to see this guy because he was just like he's just a chill little fella as far as a bird goes. And this is the dragonfly, that desert dragonfly. He has an awesome color. I things like this body type is, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of years old. So I tend to call these guys like old men sometimes. Old men of the desert or old men of the wherever they're from. So like kind of like and the dragonfly like he's kind of like my bug. So when I see one, it's kind of like my good luck. All right. And oh yeah, I forgot to show you Widroat. Widroat was so at Lededge was the abbot, but Widroat was also there. He was senior, but he didn't want to be an abbot. He just liked to be a monk. So this is Widroat. And this is kind of a funny picture. I took this because it was in contrast to what I was feeling that day. And where we are is at this place called Wat Phra Kurom of Arizona. And this place is infamous. And the reason is because this is the temple where 6 monks were murdered, and they were murdered for the money to start the temple. So two cartel members cased the place, and they waited for everyone to leave, and they stayed behind. And as soon as there was just a few people, they took them at gunpoint and had them lay down and shot them all in the back. One of them was able to live long enough to call the police after they left, and they were able to get those guys caught, and they were ultimately put to death. And that happened in the 90s. So that was another kind of he kind of like broke the moment of that with riding that bike that way, because I was really thinking about like, oh, like just kind of like in this state of like, oh, like overwhelmed kind of, and then he's just riding a bike like whatever. It's so like I was like, it kind of broke me out of like that space for a moment, and I was like kind of laughing. I just took a picture of him riding that bike like he was a little kid, just it was so funny. Let me show you just a couple more pictures. I always feel like the pictures give a little bit more human context. Here's us, and you can see it's international now. Here I am over here, and you could tell by the color of my robes that I'm actually in I was ordained in a Taiwanese tradition, and so that's why I'm not wearing black. And also, there was one time where I wore black robes, and they thought that I was doing a funeral somewhere. So they're like, "Whoa, why is he wearing black? I've never seen a monk wear black." Here's me at this that's in Whitewater, California. And then here's my old guy shades is what I called them. That's 29 no, that's Palm Springs, which is like 20 minutes west of where I was staying. Do I have anything else to show? I think yeah, I think that's it. I think that's a good place to stop. Yeah, is anybody, I don't know, what should we do? Questions, answers, comments, anything like that? Let's open it up. You guys can unmute yourself if you have a question or would like to share anything. No?
Jeff, that was phenomenal. I had questions during it. I'll try to remember them, but maybe April or Marek does comments.
Well, I have comments, and the the main one being talking about life and death. And what I learned from my animals, especially cats, is in my experience with them, I feel that they have it's simplifying it, but I feel that they have one eye on the physical world and one eye on the non-physical. And for them, death really doesn't, death is a part of their experience. And one of my shamanic teachers taught me that we walk with death at our right shoulder. So for my experiences, as with, I'm a polymath. Polymath. So I do everything. Pagan, Christian. I don't know too much about Buddhism, but I really connected with what you had to say, Jeff. And so in one tradition, they call a person who helps people cross the veil, they call them psychopomps. And I'm a psychopomp. I mean, I realize that I help people on physically in their presence, as well as connecting to them empathetically and helping them cross. So so one of the things that I did as a kid was I was a pagan from ground zero and connected to the trees. And when I was 18, my dad passed away from a heart attack. And I was emotionally at that time 6 years old, even though I was chronologically 18. And it took me a while to process that experience was for me to learn that death can be a companion. And that it's really an illusion in some ways that death is something to be feared, which, as I was talking just now, I had this memory. One of my favorite books is called Reaper Man by Terry Pratchett. And death is one of his main characters who he's humorous, he's serious, he's an amazing individual. So in the crux of this story is he's always been fascinated with humans. And he's not like Q, the Star Trek character. He wants to know more about us humans, and he doesn't look at us as less than. He's trying to find out how he fits in and is our friend. He wants to be our friend. So in Reaper Man, he somehow gets kicked out of his job, and he goes and becomes a farmhand for this woman. And he learns from the villagers. He learns from everyone that he connects with, and they learn from him. So at the end, he has a strong connection to the woman at the farmhouse where he lives. And he knows that she's going to die. And so he says, let's go to a dance. And she reaches out to him, and she's under the illusion that she's still alive at the dance. And he tells her, no, it was when we touched hands and went to the dance that you became dead. But you're not dead, because you're still here with me, and I'm still here with you. And to me, the whole story was about love.
Yeah, I love that series you're referring to. There's an animated series that they made, that Terry Pratchett video. I actually have uh the the death the death one uh
Yeah, I
of
do
the
too.
Terry Pratchett. But you said something about kind of being a was it a poly
Psychopomp.
well, before that you said a
Oh,
poly.
oh yeah, I'm a polymath, which means I'm interested in everything, and it can be used to help people.
Yeah. So I don't know if I you can see still see my screen, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you're looking at here, so Buddhism is a syncretic religion,
Yes.
and it marries whatever domestic religion it comes into contact with. So that's what gives regional Buddhism its distinction.
Uh-huh.
So what you're looking at here is part of the Cao Dai religion of or shamanism of Thailand.
Ooh.
And this mask right here, so mediums will put the mask on and channel
Ooh.
this person.
That's a good tool.
This this person would be like in the realm of a demigod, and the East has a lot more demigods than the West does. Really, the only one in the West is Christ. That fits that role. But in the East, there's a lot more. So like Lao Tzu, Buddha, uh, Confucius, all of those. If you're like a perfect manifestation of some essential quality, uh, then you might in time be considered in that category. So anyway, this this mask is of a ancient healer who lived in the forest, and so he's kind of like a medicine man in particular. And so as a healing, a medium will put this mask on and channel these healing spirits. So there was a temple in Los Angeles that had 6 different altars, and one of them was for Native American, one of them was for Hindu, one of them, let's see, there there was even one, some some of them had small places of respect for Christ as well.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
could see little chapels as well. But yeah, Buddhism doesn't kick anybody's religion outright. Um, they can and do often temper the domestic religions. Like Taoism, for example, was kind of a mendicant practice. Like not even, you wouldn't consider it a religion, but when it came into contact with Buddhism, it borrowed heavily from the formalism. So all of the courtly temple blessing things that you can find in Taoism are heavily influenced by Buddhism.
Ooh.
So there's a lot more integration rather than one over the other through most of the religious history.
Hey, Jeff, I
However,
have a
yeah,
question.
yeah.
You've studied this a lot more than I have, but I thought it was the other way around, that Buddhism in the East was influenced by Taoism. Is that not true?
So they influenced each other. One of my theories, and unfortunately my language ability is limited, so there's a certain point my scholarship can't venture into, but my assumption, as far as I can tell, is that when the first emperor uh, kicked out all foreign religions, Buddhism claimed it made a kind of folk origin story for itself, where
Hmm.
it said that Lao Tzu and the Buddha were actually the same guy.
Hmm.
And so the Chinese, there's texts where you'll find that, oh, they're actually the same guy, and Lao Tzu actually went to India, and that's who the Buddha is in India. So he's actually a Chinese guy. So that's how Buddhism got to stay in China without
Hmm.
getting kicked out for being a foreign religion, because the Emperor Chen said no foreign religions are allowed in China. So only domestic. So it created a narrative for itself, uh, that it was the way that you've heard it said, that Taoism was more heavily influential, but Buddhism
Yeah,
was more like it had to borrow considerably from Taoism to kind of claim that in a way to avoid persecution. So
that's
that,
really yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's really interesting. But I mean, and I never heard the thing about Lao Tzu, but that's really interesting and to ponder. But also your uh, what you said about that Buddhism influenced the shrine. Having seen a lot of the, at least in Japan, the Shinto, which I think is it's the Japanese version of Taoism. Uh, I mean that, and then I'm reflecting on how that's so animistic and very nature based, and then
Hmm.
why does it seem so structured? I mean, that's an interesting thing to think about. That maybe they got that strong that structure and religiosity part of it.
Yeah, so if
That's
you're
it. You
interested
don't have
in
to go down that rabbit hole, but yeah.
if you're interested in pre-Buddhist Taoism, you can look at the Yin Yang school, and
Uh,
what you'll see is that it's a much more heavily focused mendicancy, right, of rejecting society, kind of like what the Taoists are known for, just like, yo, I'm going off on my own, you guys are crazy, I'm out of here. So yeah, right. So, and then some of that attitude that shows up in Zen is kind of influenced by those attitudes. But so as they go on, they intermix, and later on, so there's a guy who comes along who's a son of an Indian princess, and she marries the emperor, or becomes one of his concubines. And but is he grows up speaking Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, and Chinese. So he is uh, what's his name? It starts with a P, uh, but he's one of the foremost translators in his time, and he goes and starts to translate the Taoism, or sorry, the Zen texts. And what he finds out is that they've got a number of things wrong. And
mm,
so what ends up happening in the Chan school is they actually throw out textual study
mm,
altogether, because um, well, I mean, this is critical of Zen or Chan and altogether, but uh, they find that they've really kind of like they've allowed Taoism to so heavily influence their thinking that they've actually contradicted the Buddha's original teachings. So because he's able to understand uh, both of those languages very clearly, he's able to go in and say, no, you're wrong about XYZ. Here it is in the Nikayas, or the Agamas as the Chinese call them. Uh, um, what is it? Yeah, and so I mean, before that, there is a textual tradition of study in Chan, but after that, they let it go. And like if you read what is it, the Platform Sutra with the I think it's the fifth patriarch. Like you can get that the guy has spent considerable amount of time in textual study, and even not only relating to his own tradition but other traditions. But that textual study, by the time it's gotten to Japan, there's really not much of it left at that point. But it's I'll have to find that guy's name because it's like Padmasambhava Jiva or something. Something like that, but I'll have to find his name. That's probably wrong, but it's a Sanskrit name. But anyway, yeah, that had a very devastating impact on Zen. And even the Tibetans to this day are kind of critical of Zen because they like pointed these things out like 600 or 700 years ago. So 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 yeah, there's a little bit of a very, what would you say, like it's a critique, it's a devastating critique, I would say, that
that Zen doesn't follow the texts.
the Zen texts were wrong, and they were wrong by way of they were wrong because they were trying to line up Taoism and Buddhism so much that the Taoism was allowed to contradict the original message of the teachings. But
well, then,
like I said, though, that was more of initially that was more of a means of survival.
Right. Well, that makes me glad that I haven't read a lot of Zen. I mean, that's what I like about Zen is that it's not supposed to be about reading.
What's funny about Zen is that in the West, Zen has the most publications of any Buddhist school. So.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, that's another example of syncretism that we're, Zen's embraced by the analytical Western mind. One thing that came up for me going back to cats, that what April so poignantly pointed out about your whole, your cat stories, and maybe Marek has insight on this, or maybe you do, Jeff, or maybe you do, April. But cats, one of the first things everybody learns about cats is that they have 9 lives. So they're intimate, they're teachers of life and death. When we're little kids, just the first thing first thing I heard about them was that they have 9 lives. Anyway.
And then you think about the number 9.
Tell us about that.
Well, in numerology, 9 is about completion. And people who have a life path 9 are unique in that they may or may not be aware that they have all of their past lives with them at that time when they're living the 9 life. And so they may start something that they have no familiarity with in this life, but they go ahead and they do it, and they say, well, I don't know how I'm doing this. I just know. And that's because the 9 people are tapping into all of that information. It never leaves you, really. So that's why I think 9 cats and their 9 lives, they're carrying everything with them. All we have to do is pay attention, get out of our own light, as some folks have said. Get out of the way of our own light.
Well, Mark, we're past 10, so I don't know. I think we're all on borrowed time, but you haven't.
I didn't. Yeah, I wanted to say thank you to Jeff for first of all, it was I enjoyed the slow tempo, the slow pace of this story. And the second, what I noticed, the first cat the first cats you told us about, you said that you had limited resources and limited ways to help them, and it reminded me of my own childhood, and also as was I would say in the somewhere in the where the childhood and the early adolescent meets, and I was, I think, about 13 years old. So I also had limited resources, and I remember also what I think first thing you told us that you had no you couldn't feed the cat all day long, and I remember I told the other day to Anna the way I befriended my first cat, Edita. It was by offering her the leftovers of my food. So she was a feral cat, and I was throwing as far as I could across the garden the meatballs that Grandma was cooking to me, and she must have found those pieces of meats later on, because each day she was coming closer and closer, and after I don't know how it was actually exactly 50 years ago that in 1974, and so I think it was somewhere the late winter or early spring that I befriended her, and quite soon after it turned out that she was pregnant, and she trusted us to the extent that she gave birth to her kittens in our kitchen. She was you can say a semi-feral, but she was also you said something that she was her own creature, that you didn't know her. So, and also PD, another participant of our cat events, also she was also saying something about her childhood cat, and again it was this story that she couldn't do everything that she would like to for this cat, and so and the third thing, that my third impression was that I enjoyed it, that it happened in the context of the monastery, because of the unsettling story that we have in Buddhism of the cat that lost life, that was actually killed in the monastic setting. I don't know if this story is a part of your tradition or not, but it was like a balance to see that also in monastic tradition could be people, and you in this case that exhibit sensibility, well, sensitivity toward cats, and well, I enjoy it because of it, and also it was, I think, that the first time that I spoke to somebody who practiced and in the Theravada school, and the little differences that you didn't speak too much about it, but it was interesting for me. So thank you for all of this.
My pleasure. Well, I'm not on a time crunch. I don't know if anybody else is, so I mean, if anybody wants to stay a little bit longer, that's fine with me.
My husband just came in and it's time for brunch.
Oh, yes. Well,
So-
it was nice to meet you, April, and
Meeting you, Jeff, and
yeah.
thank you so much.
And it was nice to see your cat, April, on the screen. That he or she passed a
That
few
was-
times.
That was Robbie. He wanted to join in. In fact, he was joining in at the before I was even on Zoom. He was here. Here he
So
comes. He's
how many
coming
cats
now.
do you have at the moment? Because you
6.
told us that you used to have 14.
I
How
have
many of
6.
Wow, that's also a number.
Oh, in fact, numerologically, it's about choices. Here's Robbie. I have 3 mostly black cats and 3 gray tabby cats.
Mhm.
So sometimes they're all downstairs in my bedroom. Sometimes it's just the tabbies, and sometimes it's all the black cats. So I have this rotating thing going on.
He
Well-
looks pretty young, doesn't he? He is your
Well, I got him in September of 2014, and I think at the time he was 6. He's in really great shape.
so he's
He's a lover boy.
you said 14, so he would be as like 16 now?
Yes,
Ah, I wouldn't guess.
yes.
Well, April,
How
we're
about
gonna,
you?
oh, sorry.
Yeah. I wonder whether Jeff has cats at the moment, or is
No, the last cat that I had an interaction with, she was meowing at like 2 in the morning, and I just went out and pet her. And like she just I think she was in heat and meowing for another cat, but she was just happy for pets at that point. So that was the last cat interaction I had. But no cats, and yeah, I can't like I said, I'm mildly allergic, so I actually
Okay.
don't have them myself, even though
Mhm.
I love cats, and yeah, they have a very big place in my heart, but yeah, I don't have pets.
And how about you, Marek?
Sadly, only memories of cats are with me now. But there was another story in Jeff's in what Jeff told us, that living and that can be a part of the community. So I had a feeling that they are still sitting with me, or in some way living with me. I sometimes, when they were with me, I always greeted them when I came home, and they greeted me. And I often find myself that I'm entering home and say, "Hello, girls," to the two sisters, and they do not answer, of course. But I hope it's not spooky for you. But I still feel they are with me. They are with me. So in this only in this sense, and I've noticed that more and more cats, perhaps as I'm talking to you guys about cats, that more cats. I remember like this data from my childhood that I found a picture of, and now I found another picture of her with these are those two kittens. The one is just behind her, and so it's and this is the bigger picture of her. This is this
Very
so I sit with them when I meditate. I don't think I'm very religious, and it's so I think I have more and more doubts about doctrines, what is true, what is not. There were some controversies in our school related to the teacher that did some controversial things. So it adds to this. So and I used to have, like, I think 2 Buddhas statues that I gave as a gift to my friends, and at the moment they are my religion, the cats.
Very good.
But it was also there was also a picture of one of the cats that meditated with you. He was on the cushion. Did he come to your sit with you, or did he sit on his own chair?
So he would sit on a cushion. So he would pick a cushion either next to you or across from you. So in that chair, those chairs are for the lay people. So in that one, he's sitting across. But sometimes, especially like if there's just one person in the hall, like he tended to sit on the monk side. And so sometimes we'd consider him the cat monk. So so he was unofficially ordained at some point. So yeah. But yeah, he very much took the demeanor of Lededge, and a little bit later of me. There's a funny story of Wandi. So Wandi, like I said, there was no killing. And one day, Wandi, to show his appreciation, I know he's showing his appreciation, he brought a dead ground squirrel and put it in front of the door. And I saw him drop it, and I looked at him and I said, "Oh, Wandi, no," like that. And he never did it again. He figured out that was not but yeah. Oh, and sorry, that was the first part, and then the second part is one night late at night, I find him inside the temple, and like as soon as he sees me, he's like scattering around like just cat anxiety, like out the roof. So I'm like, what's he doing? And then I find out that he's brought in a desert mouse into the temple, and he's befriended it. So he went from killing them, now he's befriending the rodents and bringing them into the temple as his friends. So that was the consequence of me saying, "Oh, don't do that." And then now he's making friends, but he got this big cat anxiety, like, "Oh, what am I doing?" And then I just opened the door and I was like, that way. so he took his friend out the door, and they went outside. So he didn't do that again either. But he was obviously, he knew he wasn't supposed to do that. But it was so funny, like the amount of cat anxiety on his face when he saw me coming, like at 2 a.m. But yeah, I love that Cat 1D. He's such a character. But yeah, he's very much orange cat energy is what they're calling it now.
And how is
Is
Seymour
he-
doing? If I may ask, Anna, how is Seymour doing?
Oh,
Because
Seymour's good. He's around.
Is he-
He's I haven't been letting him outside because last year he had during this time when there was a lot of pollen, I had to bring him down to emergency. He couldn't breathe.
I remember
I didn't
this.
realize
I
that
remember.
cats could have
Mhm.
allergies and really
Mhm.
bad. Yeah, it was pretty horrible, horrific. So he's an indoor cat anyway. I just let him, he just wants to be where I am. So if I go outside, I bring him outside sometimes, and I have catnip out there and he'll decimate it. But right now we've got a tree that, I'm sad to say, but it's not in a good place, and it's also dying. It has the borers. So we've made the decision it needs to come out, and it's like right outside the back door, and it is like for weeks now, probably for a month. It's just been it's a honey locust, and it's just been dropping pollen and pollen and pollen. And so when it's done, I'll let Seymour come outside with me. But in the meantime, Seymour is, and he's fine being an indoor cat. He's so funny. But Jeff, thank you for asking about Seymour, and Chirpy's doing great too. Yeah,
In
I'll tell
particular, I remember that last year you wrote on Facebook about this visit to the vet clinic,
Emergency.
and
Yeah.
that was caused then.
Yeah, it was horrible. So
when he is indoors, or it's okay. You don't need to keep him on medications, because some cats need to be medicated, or
yeah, and also
oh.
another thing about Seymour is yeah, they said he has cat, I don't know, allergies or asthma or whatever, and he had that horrible thing happened right after he was outside. And but before that, he would periodically get also an allergy, it turns out, but it would manifest that maybe this is TMI, but it would manifest, the symptom was that it would close up his urinary tract, actually. So that was the symptom. And he would, I'd see him straining to go pee, and he would go into the tub. Thank God he would go in the tub, because then I could see that there was red in it. And that was the symptom of this allergy. And then I would give him pills, and that would help. And so thank you, Marek. He has not been on any pills. And I have to give a shout out to PD. I'm sure PD must have something else going on booked today, because otherwise she would be here. And April, you'd meet her. But she is another cat saver and aficionado, and she's the one that told me about this dust-free cat litter. And the brand that she uses. And ever since, I've switched the cats to, I think it's Arm & Hammer Cloud or something. It's pretty expensive. I get it at the store, but I also get like the 40-pound huge boxes from Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So, and ever since I've been using that, we have not had an issue. So yeah, thank you. For asking about.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear it, because I know that these medications that you give, I think they are steroids, basically. So they have these medications are not so they help, but also they have unintended side effects. So if you find a way to keep him without having to
Yeah.
medicate, it's very good.
Oh,
I
yes,
think.
without a doubt. Without a doubt. I am, yeah, very pleased. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that and for bringing that up. Jeff, I wanted to ask
Yeah.
if Wadi was still alive, and then also I
Yeah.
see you just posted a shout out. Do you want to give a
Mhm.
little shout out before we
Yeah.
disband about what you're doing?
Yeah. Wandi is
And tell us about Wadi.
so it's Wandi.
Wandi.
Yeah, and it's a double entendre. Lededge also, like, he writes his name 1D, like the number 1 and D, but Wandi is Thai as well. I forgot what it means, but he's fine. He's resilient. He knows how to escape coyotes. He can climb yucca trees. And we found him there in the morning sometimes. I had to take a ladder, and the first time he did it, he climbed the tallest one he could find. So I had to take a ladder and go get him. That was an ordeal. But these days, what I'm up to is I'm the president of a national organization of Karen Buddhist refugees in the country. So I'm helping them organize on a national level to help them preserve language, culture, and spiritual tradition and identity. And you can follow us on Facebook as we're at Karen Bodhi. Karen is spelled like the name with a K. And then Bodhi, of course, it's the Buddhist word for awakening. And it's a double entendre. It's, of course, awakening of the people and awakening of the Buddha's Dharma. So yeah, if you're interested in what we're up to, you can follow us on Facebook.
Well, I'm gonna head out because it's 10:35. And I need to eat.
Me too.
Marek and April and Jeff, thank you so much for being here and for hosting. And this will be videoed, and I'll put it up on our little blog thing. And I'll send you the link, April. And
Thank you.
yeah, we've been doing Cat Church every month, and I really love how intimate this was. I think it really, I think it worked out really well. Usually there's more people, so I feel bad if some people didn't get the message, or I don't know, thought I was going to send out a reminder and then didn't put it on their calendar. But this was awesome. Jeff, your story was phenomenal. So yeah. And
Yeah.
thank you all for being here.
Yeah, I'm glad we recorded it. So I guess yeah, most people who would watch it will probably watch it on recording. Yeah, I didn't know I'd cry so much over Jow, but yeah, there was so much powerlessness in that time. It was also during COVID, and I was also like, just everybody felt powerless at that time. But yeah, it was good to share and good to reflect. And yeah, I think the overall message was gratitude for life, gratitude for every moment. So yeah, I think that's what the cats were able to share, and of course the humans as well. And I guess one thing I didn't mention was that before COVID, I was also a volunteer in hospice care. So spent a lot of time with people who are dying, and they know they're dying. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Jeff. That was an awesome Cat Church. And I look forward to future Cat Churches. And I love you all.
Love you.
Love you.
Have a great rest of your day, and yeah, see you either at the other events this month or at next Cat Church, I hope.
Yay!
Yay! Meow.
Meow!
Or Joao.
Joao. Meow.
Joao, Joao. All right, bye bye now.
Bye bye.